Hello, I'm Ed Nwokedi. I'm the founder and CEO of RedSwan Digital Real Estate. What we do is here, we basically convert real estate into fractional securities. Just like issuing stocks and bonds, we take real estate equity and convert them into securities so that people can now be able to buy affordable shares of real estate and also have an opportunity to sell the real estate when they need to sell it. Unlike the traditional way of buying real estate, you typically have to commit a large amount of capital to buy real estate, and it usually takes you a very long, undetermined amount of time to sell the real estate. So RedSwan has been doing this for 8 years now, and I think we're one of the largest in the world who focus on this. We're licensed with the SEC, so we have a license and members of FINRA to actually sell these digital securities. And we think that this is like a new way of actually acquiring, holding, and disposing of real estate that's more in line with the digital model that people are focusing on in today's world. I believe that the license is a really big obstacle that was necessary to legally be able to process securities. And so we thought going to FINRA and applying for the license and obtaining the license was the right way to provide a compliant way to sell securities to individuals around the world. The players that we're talking to do understand what FINRA is and do understand that FINRA is a very compliant, regulated source and a credential for being able to sell securities and investments. And so it does set the standard in terms of credibility. And I think when you start talking about large players or institutional players, family offices, they look for that credential. They look for it to make sure you're authentic and legal and compliant. Otherwise, if you're doing something that's not licensed, then you can be causing a problem for yourself as well as for your potential client. Well, just like the investors, I'm a real estate junkie myself. I love real estate. I've been selling real estate prior to RedSwan for 18 years, a couple of years with Colliers International, and then another 17 years with Cushman & Wakefield. So I'm a big believer in commercial real estate and especially the investment real estate, because I think that's one way to build wealth. And I've helped many clients become very successful buying different types of real estate in the state of Texas. And I now want to do the same for the average investor in the United States and around the world. The aha moment came from a former colleague of mine called me up and said that I should study and go to a conference. It was a blockchain conference in Dallas, and it was mostly Bitcoin owners going to this conference, but he told me to pay attention to the blockchain concept, the technology. And so I went there and I did focus on, the blockchain technology. And it really rang a bell for me because I saw how blockchain was a ledger. It was a digital ledger and a very highly encrypted ledger. And immediately thought about fractionalization as being the main use case for blockchain. And then when you think about fractionalization of assets, and I'm selling real estate, then you realize that if you can now fractionalize real estate in terms of commercial real estate, you can use that as a way of raising capital and also as a way of dividing the wealth amongst many people. So that was the aha moment for me, was realizing what the capability of blockchain was through the technology. And it was really about the SEC at that same time, or maybe a month later, came out with a ruling that STO, security token offerings, were now legitimate. Now they're licensing the use of security token offerings and banning the ICOs, independent coin offerings. That was the aha moment. That was to tell me that if the SEC is making a mandate of this level, then this is what they see is going to be the future for finance going forward. And even though it seemed like a long time ago, 8 years have passed, but it is the future. You see now everyone is going into tokenization and creating digital assets because it's much easier to process. It's much more efficient in terms of cost. I mean, think about it. I sell real estate. It can take 6 to 9 months to sell one building by setting it up, doing the marketing, forecasting it out to investors, and then investors looking at it, coming back, then lining them all up, the ones that are interested, doing the best and final so that you get the best one on board, go under contract, go through due diligence, and then finally close. That's a 6 to 9 month process. With digital, that's a 5-minute process, maybe 10 minutes at most. And when you're looking at selling was the same thing. It takes 6 to 9 months to sell. Now, selling on the blockchain can be either 6 minutes, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks. but still much faster than 6 months or even 6 years to exit a piece of property. So I saw that as a benefit. That's a major selling point. I think it'd be something that most investors can resonate with, because some of their biggest challenges is not getting into the real estate, because most of them can afford it, but getting out of the real estate holdings is where they usually have the biggest challenge. And in today's market, you see that same big challenge because interest rates have gone up. And so the price point they need to exit no longer exists, which means they can't exit, which means they're stuck in these assets until interest rates come down and the price point gets to the level where they can actually make a profit or break even, then they'll sell. Well, some people don't want to hold on to their asset for 6 to 15 years. And so I think having it in digital form, you now have this option where you can put your shares on the market, put a price on it, and let people communicate to you how much they're going to pay you to buy your shares. And that is an option that's very, very popular and I think very beneficial to real estate owners. The challenges that RedSwan faced in tokenization was basically education, primarily. People were confused with regards to regulatory constructs, as well as thinking that it's illegal. The risk factor they thought was very high because most people associated the word blockchain to cryptocurrency. They didn't associate the word blockchain to digital securities. And because of that, when you mention you're tokenizing something or using blockchain for something, they put the brakes on the conversation right there because they think you're doing something with cryptocurrency. And as far as they're concerned, that's a nefarious activity. So that was the biggest hurdle. But now that you're seeing the new administrations, other countries really moving forward in not only crypto, but real world asset blockchain, they now realize this is a major benefit for them. They can actually help them be more efficient and actually make higher profits and extend their reach for global investors. And so now they're starting to come to us and say, hey, tell me more about this. We're very interested. Or even more so, they've done their homework and they're telling me, hey, can we use this application for this purpose? Because I have this problem. Will it help me solve it? So they're coming to me now with solution-oriented comments as opposed to, just glassy-eyed say, hey, what is this thing? Is it legal? Is it not legal? Talk to me like I'm 2-year-old so I can understand it. I don't have to have those conversations anymore. And I think that's a major change in terms of the way people are looking at this technology. So our website has been around for almost 8 years. We've gone through many different variations because we had different objectives at the time. When we first started this business, the website was to reach everybody who couldn't afford real estate to know that this new technology will allow them to have access to what's available and also have a price point in which they can afford. So it was more on a level of kind of a game where they can go look and flip different properties and tell us what they're interested in and make these emails and they can express interest. Then we realized that we couldn't service the rank and file everybody. They had to be in the United States accredited. So we now made a website that's focusing on more institutional, high net worth investors and like family offices. And then we decided that we need to turn this into funds so that they don't have to think very hard about what they want to invest in, but have funds that are already investing in tokenized assets that are of different types. So you have more diversification, because some of the best principles of real estate is diversify your interest and try to get as much yield as you can with minimal risk. So that's what we try to bring on our website. And today, I think we've achieved that. We have many high quality assets that have been tokenized in terms of apartment buildings or hotels or even industrial projects, and is geared towards those savvy investors who are already buying real estate. I mentioned before that around the world there's about $75 trillion worth of real estate, and that's being traded on a regular basis. And out of that $75 trillion, there's probably 30% of that, almost $26 trillion, that's locked in the real estate. And when I say locked, it means that the owner of that real estate is not getting any use out of the capital that's stuck in the real estate. If a real estate is worth $100 million and has a $50 million loan and it has $50 million worth of equity, that $50 million of equity is just sitting there being unproductive in a way, right? So it's not taking advantage of its opportunity cost, put another way. But if we will pull $40 million out of that $50 million out of the property, it's still going to produce the same bottom line, NOI, but that $40 million now can be repurposed into buying more real estate and expanding the investors' assets under management. So we see this as a benefit to the sponsors who have a lot of money locked in the real estate, as well as the investors who are coming in and want to be able to buy real estate at a price they can afford. And if they want to exit, just like they could exit Apple stock, they can put it on the market and say, sell my real estate shares, and we can let those shares get sold to our broker-dealer division. So that's basically the major options and differences of digital shares versus non-digital ownership. And I think that once people have more education on those benefits, that there's no decision for them. Call to action for us is to come to our website or call us, look at our options. I challenge everyone to look at the properties that we have on our website and compare them to the properties you're trying to buy today. And I think you'll be surprised to see that our properties on a channel level in terms of product type, whether it be multifamily, office, industrial, retail, or hospitality, pound for pound is going to provide a higher yield day one on our site in digital and have the optionality of liquidity than anything else you're looking for. So all I'm saying is call for action, come look at our properties and compare it to the properties that you currently own or are planning to invest in today.